Hi everyone, Casey Mullaney from CaseyMullaney.com. Sorry, I was getting notifications that I had poor network connection and I'm like, uh-oh. Hopefully I'm actually live. So anyways, I had brunch with a couple of friends that I actually know from a spiritual group. Spiritual experience. It's a long story. I was about to give some details and I'm like, it's kind of a long story. But anyways, I know them through this retreat that I did previously. And essentially one of the things, oh, hi Brandy. One of the things that came up this morning when I was talking with one of the women, because we were having brunch, so we're all like around this table and stuff. And she was talking about this thing for her son and how beneficial it's been, but how she initially was kind of like, I don't know about this doesn't sound good. And her husband was basically like, just try it. So that reminded me, like I am so in tune with my intuition at this point that I sometimes forget that this is not an easy thing for a lot of people because it's just been such a natural part of my habit. So today I want to talk just very briefly on a few ways to determine the difference between fear and intuition, because we do want to go with what feels right for us. We do want to pay attention to what feels good, what feels like the right place we're supposed to be going. But if we can't discern that, if we can't discern it, then it makes it incredibly challenging. So the very first thing is, I feel like this is obvious, but like, again, this is just because it's so like second nature for me. If you are having fear, you're usually having another kind of reaction with it. You're not feeling at peace. You are feeling maybe nauseated, maybe like, where you have like an obscene amount of butterflies, like, although butterflies aren't always a bad thing, but like where you really don't feel good. You're constantly having fearful based thoughts, like what if, like negative what if thoughts, things like that. If you're having an intuition moment, like an issue, that was a blur of words. If you're having a moment where it's more intuitive, that's what I was trying to say. If you're having a moment where it's more like being guided, you still feel peaceful. It may not make sense to you, but the feeling will be lighter. The feeling will be easier. It'll be more like, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I have this fear over here telling me like, holy shit, I can't believe you're spending money on this, or you're doing this, or you're going to take off and do what, but the feeling itself feels peaceful. It feels like right in your soul. It feels like a good thing deep inside of you. Like there might be fears on the side, but it feels like a good thing deep inside of you. Another way to know is like to know the difference between your mind versus your heart. And I know that sometimes people can like be led astray by things or whatever else, but like a really great way is paying attention to where the information is coming from. If the information is coming from deep within your soul, from in your heart, if in your heart, like that's how most people describe it, in your heart, you know this is the right thing to do, that's more of an intuition. If you have those gut feelings, like in your gut is what a lot of times people say. They could just know it's right. Like, and sometimes what this takes is taking some time to focus on the fear and reverse the fear. Sometimes it takes sitting there going, okay, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid if I do this, this will be the outcome, or these awful things. And I love all the hearts thing. I'm thinking they're coming from you, Brandy. Thank you. So I love the hearts. So if it like this fear-based, like I'm afraid this is going to happen, and processing through that first, go, okay, so what if that happens? What's the actual worst case scenario? What is actually like gonna be the end of the world? What am I so afraid of might happen? For me, my honest to God fear is having to leave the beach. Like I have like deep-rooted fears sometimes that pop their ugly heads every once in a while that tell me that I'm gonna like fall on my ass and have to move in with my parents in Kentucky. So far removed, so far removed. So it's like, okay, that's your deepest, darkest fear. So what if that happens? Like, what if that happens? Like, what's really going to be the outcome? And like, how much reality is that? Is that actually true? Like asking yourself, is this true? I think is one of the biggest things when you're working through your fears, because if you can sit there and go, no. Is it true that I am likely to fall on my ass so hard that I have to move into my parents' basement? Well, there's a million steps between here and there. Like, that actually happening is such a far removed thing that I can sit there and go, no, this is not true. And I totally understand in her case, she was discussing something with her children. And I totally understand where sometimes, especially when it's something like that important to you, like this is your child, you're not even just talking about yourself, you're talking about a child, you know, that can make it even more challenging. So it's, again, like, especially if you can't tell what feels peaceful, what feels lighter. And lighter, I think lighter to me is the best word. Maybe it's not the best word for you, but maybe if you have a deeper understanding, maybe it will be. Because if you feel, like when a decision feels heavy, like you like physically feel like you have a weight, you feel like you have all that pressure on you, like that awful, horrible feeling of intense pressure, that's when something feels heavy. When it feels light, you literally feel like something's being lifted off of you. You feel like all this weight is being lifted. Oh, hi, Priscilla. You feel like all this weight is coming off of you, and that thing will feel lighter. So that's like, I think that's a great gauge as well, but if that's still like not easy for you, sitting there and processing through that fear, going, okay, is this true? If this is true, like, what will happen? You know, what's the really honest to God truth of what might happen, worst case scenario? Because usually you can handle that worst case scenario better when it's like staring you in the face. Because you're like, oh, well, that's not as bad or not as big of a deal as I was thinking it would be. So you're able to process through that a little bit better. Handle that, and then come back to what feels lighter, what feels like, what is your heart telling you, what like seems okay, like, and I know, like, especially if this is something that you're not used to doing, if it's not like, and this has just been so ingrained in my nature for so long, but I did have, in case you guys don't know, I had chronic horrific anxiety for like, even still, I'll have like pretty like bad anxiety every once in a while, you know, but I had pretty chronic anxiety from like the time that I was like, as far as back as I can remember, through, you know, till now, basically, you know, I'm just coping better with it now. I handle it better now. When it comes up, I know how to battle it a bit better. And I'm also in a different mental state than I was then. But, you know, it's like, it can be really, the point of me sharing that is that it can be challenging to differentiate fear and intuition. But I've always been able to do that. And it's because like you can feel a difference. There is a big, big difference. And fear is of your mind. Like, fear does not feel... Fear never has a feeling of peace with it. Fear never comes from the heart. Fear comes from the mind. So if you are feeling something strongly in your heart, but your mind's going, what the fuck, this is awful, this is not going to happen, blah, 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 like, that is of your mind. It's not what's in your heart. If you're watching this as a replay and this does not make sense to you, please ask questions. Definitely ask questions, because I am happy to answer, because this is something that I am working to better explain and better teach, because I do want people to understand it. I think it makes such a transformational difference in your life when you start focusing more on what feels right to you versus what your fears are, and being able to truly differentiate that, truly make a difference between what's the fear, what's not the fear. So basically, if it's coming from your mind, if it makes you feel sick, if you're having all these heavy reactions, like all this pressure, all this anxiety, all this stress, that's just fear around an issue. Taking the time to relax, taking yourself to go do something to chill out. Like, I know this is not an option for everybody. I don't pretend that it is, but for me, I go sit my ass on the beach and I take some time, you know, and I take that time to like watch the water, put everything in perspective, and then I feel again. Then I go, what actually feels right now? Not what the fear is, not the fear of missing out, not the fear of like screwing up, not the fear of like, what if this all goes wrong? Like, what actually feels right now? Like, what is coming from my heart versus what is coming from my mind? And that, I think, will definitely help you. So, oh, hi, Elaine. I'm wrapping up, but go watch from the beginning, because I think this is a super helpful video. But anyways, if you guys have any questions or anything that comes up, definitely let me know, because this is not, one of the things I forget is how difficult this can be for some people, how like not natural this is, because it's just such a natural part of my state. So I want you to understand this fully, because it makes you live such an easier, better life. And then you just, you know, your life flows. your life gets in this mode of flow and it just feels amazing. And that's how life should feel. So love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.